today's video, where we are going to learn all about the major scale. The major scale. I really hope that you're doing well and you've had a lovely day, evening study session so far. Today we're going to be doing some more music theory and covering the major scale. I thought we could go through a few different things. First, we're going to talk about what we actually mean by major when it comes to music theory. And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the origin of the major scale. After that, I thought we would talk a little bit about how we can recognize a major scale. We'll go through some solfege, which is kind of your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then on the manuscript here, we're going to have a go at writing out the major scale in our different keys. That is the plan for today. You may notice a slight change in sound quality. I forgot to put a cover on my mic, so I've just paused the recording to go and grab the microphone cover. That should hopefully numb or dampen some of the sibilance, so any kind of harsher words like your S, F, P kind of words and sounds. Anyways, back to the track. So, first things first, what is major? When we talk about moods and tonality in music, we have three different things. We've got major, minor, and atonal. There are technically kind of many more, but the main kind of three that you learn about until you get really deep into it is things are either major, they are minor, or they are atonal, and that means that they are neither major or minor. Yeah, normally, though, pretty much every piece of music is either major or minor. Okay? When things are major, we would describe them as being happy, maybe bright. Sometimes they could be described as being hopeful, and more often than not, but not always, energetic. But the main two that you will hear is major is pretty synonymous with music that is happy and bright. Okay, so we're after things that are happy and bright. Awesome. Draw a line onto that. And we'll move into the origin of the major scale. So, origins of the scale itself first being used are unknown. There is evidence of it in ancient Hindustani music and that of many other ancient civilizations. It is kind of accepted and suggested that the major scale being used in music is older than the ability to read and write. This is because mathematically the tones are in a naturally extremely pleasing interval to listen to. So all of our tones are mathematically very pleasing in terms of how far apart they are. And this is why it is a very natural thing that humans will have discovered the major scale within songs. Maybe they used it to communicate. That I'm not too sure. So it is older than the ability to read and write. However, the idea of a major scale as a formula, like a formal thing, dates back to around ancient Greece and the ancient Greece modes, which were kind of they were pioneered really by Pythagoras. So the true origins are unknown, but as a formal idea, the major mode is Pythagoras. Okay? Now, the major mode being called Ionian and being introduced as C Ionian came from a musician called Heinrich Clarion, and that happened around 1547. He introduced C Ionian as a mode that musicians would be trained in. Prior to that, it was known about, but not necessarily formalized. It was not one of the formal modes. However, he pioneered and pushed for it to be a formal mode. As for the actual term major, that gradually was pushed. There was a lot of resistance to the term from German musicians in particular, but that became very common amongst French composers in the late 16th century, from what I understand. No, the late 15th century, from what I understand, so the late 1600s, and was in wide circulation by 1722. So, in terms of music history, the term major is, not really that old, only, becoming in wide circulation in the early 1700s. So that's kind of our origin of the major scale. As a scale, it is older than a lot of human history that we know about, and was formally kind of in ancient Greece, but became a part of traditional music education in the 1500s, and the term major, as opposed to just Ionian, which I'll spell out for you now, became a thing in kind of 1722. So Ionian is the mode. And if you're thinking, oh my god, what does that mean? Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Alright? Don't worry about it. Alright. Let's have a think about how we can actually view our modes, how we write them down, and where you may have seen the major scale before. So, probably the most common way that people get taught the major scale is through solfège or solfa or do re mi sounds. And it sounds like this. We have do, which is number 1, re. Oh, I should have done that capital, that's annoying. Sorry. Mi, fa, so, la, ti, and then finally do again, up the octave. I'm going to try and quietly sing, but it would be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I'll try that again. We have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. And so far attaches a sound to each of the major scales. This is used a lot in music education, as by attaching a different sound to each note, it can make each part of the scale much more recognizable, especially for children, and this helps them in their composing and listening. They could recognize a note and think of it as a mi, and then hear a la and know, okay, they are, a fourth apart, a fourth apart, okay, and they can build those relationships, and they are strengthened by the sounds. However, if you do not know them, then it can be really tricky. So I did not learn these growing up, but I've worked in kind of music education settings where they're used, and there's like 7-year-olds who run rings around me using do, re, mi while I'm trying to fix something out of my head still. And I think of myself as a pretty accomplished music theorist, so that's kind of crazy. It's a really powerful tool. So we have do, which is 1, re, which is 2, mi, which is 3, fa, 4, so, 5, la, 6, ti, 7, and then do, which is the octave. You'll see I've not written normal numbers but Roman numerals when we talk about degrees of the scale or different notes in music theory. We like to use our Roman numerals for various reasons. So that is our solfege. So we start do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do, and that is a way we can attach different sounds to the major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Isn't that brilliant? Okay, moving on from solfege, let's have a look at how we write it out in classical notation. Actually, no. Let's look at it on a piano. I'm going to swap from my whiteboard pen to a pencil. And let's begin by drawing a piano. So we got C, D, oh this is not good, E, F, G, A, B, C. I'm trying to do really wide keys here. There's my first set of sharps, my butt keys. 1, 2, 3, and you'd have another sharp up here. So, my notes I have here, I've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. My notes on the piano. In my major scale, for my C major scale, I really simply, I'm just gonna play all of the white notes, and I can follow a system that looks like this. Starting on C, I'm gonna go tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. But I hear you asking, well, what are tones and semitones? And I will tell you, a tone is the smallest possible possible margin that we can move up in Western classical notation. So I'm discounting here half flats and half sharps, which are not really a thing you encounter very often unless you go really into jazz and like Jacob Collier type stuff. And microtones, we're not worrying about them. So, for example, from E to F, there is not a note in between E and F that I can go to. Therefore, between E and F, I am only traveling up a tone. However, between F and G, there is a note in between. There is a black note, my F sharp or G flat in between. Because I'm traveling 2 semitones, that is a whole tone. So a semitone is the smallest distance, and a tone is when there's one note in between. So, for example, between A and B is a tone with the B flat and A sharp in between, but B to C is a semitone. So I've got, starting on on C, we go tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And if I follow that pattern, I can create my major scale starting on any note at all. I'm gonna grab a pen so you can see a little bit better, and I'll show you what this looks like written as a scale in sheet music. So if I was to draw my treble clef, I'm gonna start off on C. I need to go up a tone, so I'm going to go to D, up a semitone, no, up a tone again, is E. Now I need to go up by a semitone to F, up by a tone to G, up by a tone to A, up by a tone to B, and then I'm ending up a semitone, I'll squeeze it on the end, on C. Now, let's have a go. I'm going to use that same formula, but I'm going to start on a different note. I haven't decided what that note is yet. Let's do it from I'll tell you what, I'll do an easy scale and then like a really hard one. Let's go for G major. So for G major, I start on G. I need to go up a tone. So here's my starting note, G. Up a tone is A. Up a tone from A is B. So there's my 2 tones. Now I need to go up a semitone from B. A semitone up is C. And I'll jump back to the C here. And then into the tone, so D. Up a tone is E. And now I need to go up a final tone, and that's going to be an F sharp because that's my semitone, 1, 2, so I need an F sharp, and then up a semitone from F sharp, I have G. And the reason that this is an F sharp and not a G flat is because already in the scale I have got a G, normal G, a natural G being used. So because I'm already using my G natural, I'm going to make sure that this one here, even though on the keyboard it could be a G flat or an F sharp, on my theory, on my paper, it is always an F sharp because my G is already being used. Let's try one more. Let's do a trickier one. Let's go D flat major. Let's try D flat. So D flat is this key right here. So I'm going to start off by drawing my D flat. I need to go up by a tone. So tone to an E flat. And then I need to go up a tone again to F. Just F natural up to F. And now I need a semitone, and because I've already used F, so before this was known as an F sharp because I'd already used G, but I've already used F, so now it's going to be a G flat. So done tone, tone, semitone. I need a tone from G flat is A flat. And I know that because here's my G flat, 1, 2, there's my tone. I need a tone from A flat to B flat, and that would be here. So B flat right here. So I've gone tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. I need another tone. B flat 1, 2 is C. And then last but not least, I'm going to do a semitone from C to D flat, which is my octave. D flat, there's my octave. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So we start on D flat, we had D flat, E flat, F, upper semitone to G flat, A flat, B flat, C, upper semitone to D flat. Okay, so just to recap, today we have learned about the major scale. The word major in music represents happy, bright, hopeful, and energetic. The major scale is also known as the Ionian mode. The Ionian mode has been sung since before humans kept records about their history, and there is evidence of it in ancient Hindustani culture as well as other very old civilizations' music. Mathematically, it is super pleasing to listen to, and that probably contributed to its early discovery. It was formulated in ancient Greece by Pythagoras. However, it was formally introduced with a name by Heinrich Glarean, probably got that name wrong, in 1547 as he introduced C Ionian as the formal mode. It was used in wider circulation as major by 1722. It was pushed back by Germans, but the French welcomed it with open arms. Do re mi is the major scale is famously represented by sulfur sounds, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. This is also made popular by the sound of music. Overall, our major scale sounds like this. Do, Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. We can figure out our major scales using the pattern tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. One semitone is the smallest distance you can move. So a semitone equals small, whereas a tone equals 2 semitones. Using the pattern tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, we can figure out a major scale starting from any point, any note. For example, my C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. In G major, I've got G, upper tone to A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, upper semitone to G. And in D flat, I've got D flat, upper tone to E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, and D flat. Well, I really hope that you have found that somewhat useful. But more than that, I hope you found it somewhat relaxing. Thank you so much if you're still watching now. And if you wouldn't mind giving me a like or subscribe, I'd really appreciate that, as it truly helps me out. So, nonetheless, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening study session, whatever it is you are doing at the moment. Thank you so much. Bye bye for now, and I'll see you